I'm going to make a quick video about how to choose a publishing date. So this is what I'm working on. This is the cover I'll probably use or something kind of similar. And I just passed 70,000 words and I have about 5 or 6 chapters more. So I'm probably going to finish this book in a week or two. And that means I can start thinking about publishing it. So I've usually in the past I've set up a pre-order date first, and I've kind of forced myself to meet the deadline, and it's really good for productivity, but I haven't been able to meet the schedule. So on the one hand, it's really stressful, but you get it done. On the other hand, if you screw it up or you're rushing your work, that's not great either. So what I try to do now is self-motivate to keep working on the book, but I don't put it up for pre-order or pick a publishing date until I've finished with a rough draft. So when I get to the end of the book and I write the end, then I know I need a few more weeks to edit it and to start marketing. But once I have a pretty clean rough draft, then I can put it up on pre-order. I can plan my pre-order date. So I'm looking at about a month from now. So mid-June. By mid-June, I'd like to choose a date. And one trick that I like to use, I don't always do this, but something that you can do, which is a kind of good idea, is to look at the other books that are going to come out around that time and try to find another book that's kind of similar to yours, and see if you can share some of their audience. This works especially well if you're self-publishing and you can find some traditionally published books. They tend to have bigger market, and it's one way to connect with the audience who reads more traditionally published books. So what I'll do is just I basically Googled, best young adult novels releasing summer of 2018. I can actually just find young adult releases for June 2018, so there's 30 books. So these are the books that are coming out in June. Most of these books will be coming out. Most of these books will come out on a Tuesday because traditional publishers like to publish on Tuesdays because it's easier for them to hit the lists because of the way that they count the dates for the weekly New York Times or other USA Today bestselling lists or Wall Street Journal. So what you'll usually find is there's going to be like 3 books every week all summer or for June. So you can start to look for books that are similar to yours and see if you can find a date where there's 2 or 3 other books that are similar to yours that will be releasing. Because if you can release and you can get some sales, what's probably going to happen is when you launch your book, you're going to email your list or you'll tell people you run advertisements, and you'll get most of your sales on your launch promo for your promo price, or you'll be doing advertisements, or like I said, I'll probably, once my rough draft is finished, hopefully in a week or two, I'll put the book up on pre-order, and I'll have 2 or 3 weeks of pre-order, in which time I'll be promoting a lot. I'll try to get 1,000 pre-order sales. So when the book kicks in, when it actually launches, I'll get a bunch of sales quickly. And ideally, if I get a bunch of sales and my readers are also buying those other books that are possibly traditionally published books or more famous books, if there's a lot of crossover, then we're going to show up in each other's also bots. And if I can get my book to show up in a lot of other traditionally published books also bots, that's going to be a lot of free organic visibility on Amazon. So that's really good for me. One of the problems with this list I'm looking at is that this looks more like a lot of contemporary young adult, and I write more sci-fi fantasy. The one I'm finishing is a vampire dystopia, so this may not be the right list for me because I don't see a lot of fantasy. For example, though, this is a royalty one with a prince, a princess, magic, sorceress. This is a little bit more standard royalty magic, and mine's a little bit more dystopian technology, so mine's kind of different, but this might be close enough. This one I can see is launching on June 26th by Harlequin Teen. That's a little later than I'd like to publish, but that's a possibility. So I could write that down and make a note of it and see if I could find other books that are more similar. It's a good idea to know what else is coming out around the same time as yours. I also just noticed there's a lot of mermaid books coming out. This summer I'd like to finish book 2 in my mermaid series. So there's a whole bunch of reimaginings of The Little Mermaid that are coming out. There's also a live action movie about The Little Mermaid coming out this summer. And there's also a new TV show, Siren, which I've been watching, which is a great kind of dark horror thriller mermaid story. So you kind of just need to know what's going on, like if you can pick a publishing date or a launch date where there's a lot of other things going on, where there's a lot of other similar books being launched, or there's, you know, a new TV show or a new movie. Those are good promotion times when a lot of people will be searching for certain things. And if you can tie into that conversation at all, if you can, like, you know, use the hashtags or the tweets that are going out about the Little Mermaid movie or the TV series or these new book launches that are kind of similar to yours, if you can get involved in that conversation and get seen and get people to like your content, and then, you know, you also have a book, you don't really want to be like manipulative or spammy, but if you are talking about the things that they're already searching for, when they're searching for it, when they're looking for it, and you show up and then they notice, you know, next to your content in your bio you say you have a new release, it's this other thing, that's just some extra free visibility. And like I said, if you launch on the same day as some of these other books, it can help long-term visibility through also bots on Amazon. There's also the argument, like if you're trying to get #1 bestseller in a certain category, there's an argument that instead of publishing on Tuesdays, you should publish on some other day that doesn't have as much competition, which is, you know, a different thing. If you really want to get the #1 bestseller, I would rather not get the #1 bestseller and at least stick in the top 20 for a long term and keep earning money with my books. I'd rather do that than get the #1 seller tag for a day or two. So I don't worry so much about that, but I do really worry about my also bots. I try to launch on days where you can pick up extra readers because they're already searching for things that are relevant or tangent to the book that you've written. So depending on the book that you've written, I think you should do research about what else is going on. If you you need to plan. I think if you finish your rough draft, depending on how much experience you have with editing, because for some people, if you've written a book, you know, a certain way, it might take you several months or even years to edit it and turn it into a marketable product. But I write really clean, really organized outlines, which means when I finish a book, even when I finish a rough draft, I know that I can edit it and publish it in a few weeks, because it's going to be pretty clean once I get through to the end. So I try to not choose a publishing date until I finish a clean rough draft, and then I can start thinking probably 1 or 2 months out. If this is your first book and you finish a clean rough draft, I'd probably give yourself at least 3 months, and maybe longer, because you probably need to do things like build an author platform or find a cover design, figure out book formatting. There's a lot of pieces to publishing, so you don't want to rush it, and you don't want to put it up on pre-order too early if it's not actually going to be done. But anyway, that's my process. That's kind of how I choose dates to launch. There are some considerations to picking a date. If you can tap into something that's already attractive to your audience and like tie into that with some kind of a book launch promo, that's going to be a good idea. Thanks, bye-bye.